Ladies and gentlemen, this is internet personality Vangelus, and I'm here with a look at the Awakening version of Mastermind Creations' Airborne Squad. And this is not actually a review, this is an instructional video, because this dude has some finickiness to him. He's not scary like Cyclops, but I think it would only help for people to see how he works right away, so that if anyone out there is getting the Awakening version, you'll be able to refer to this video and not worry the first time through. I was a little bit careful the first time going through this guy, and very quickly found him quite comfortable to transform, so I want to show you how that works. When you get him in the box, though, these wings aren't attached, so I also want to show you how these attach. There's a lot of instructions and caution sheets and whatnot in the box you really should pay heed to, but basically these spiky bits, as opposed to the smooth bits there, go on the side that faces towards whoever's behind him. And this little thing here kind of spins. There's a little square tab on there. Just make sure that that lines up with that little notch there, and everything should be golden when you plug this thing in. I know a big question, especially after Cyclops, is do I have to worry about all of the thin, sharp, pointed bits on this guy? Honestly, I don't think you do if you treat him with, you know, just the same care you would treat any $90 designer item. You know, you got a deal. That click there signifies to me that that's done. Usually they don't take that much effort to put on, but that's an example of when you're struggling. You know, just take your time and enjoy yourself. You're putting wings on a dude. See, that one just went straight in there, so blam. Once you have this guy all put together like this, you might go to yourself, I want to turn him into a weird-looking triple, six-winged, triple-layered flying, whatever, so let's do that. One of the hardest things, actually, to be honest, is folding his ears in, only because there's so much stuff around them. I find it's easier, actually, to kind of turn his head to one side so you can just get a better grip on one of the ears and just flip it in. And take this ear, just flip it in, boom! And then he's got to flip his head back, like that, so he's looking up at his own little cockpit. This kind of leaves a little seating area, too, which is sort of neat. And then this is one of the things that you're supposed to be careful of, is this automorph when you fold his wings up. Before you do that, I would very much recommend, make the second step this. You click these shoulders down slightly. That gives you full clearance to move the wings up. Now, Mr. P.A. mentioned that he would just sometimes remove the wings before transforming this guy the first few times, and I felt like that was a challenge to my manhood, so I have in fact never transformed this guy without his wings. So, you know, let the results dictate to you whatever you want them to dictate. Take both wings and simultaneously lift them up gently. This will cause the automorph to happen, which lowers his head down just enough for you to take the cockpit, close it up, and then you have to line things up a little bit in here, but once you get the angles arrayed properly with everything, it'll actually click down into place. I just leave everything alone at this point. There's some more stuff you can do up here, but that just adds longer, sharper edges to the process, so just hold off for a second. Take these hip skirts, you can move them back to the sides. I just like them back here because they kind of look like a coat tail. And the arms transform conceptually pretty simply. It's the classic flap on the forearm, folding the hand in. Don't close the flap yet, though. This next bit's kind of tricky. And in the instructions, they do a pretty good job of trying to describe this, but basically, the bicep has a separate clip-together joint, and you gotta undo it like this. See that? You see how that tab is showing there? Here, I'll click it back together. You gotta undo that. Then fold the rest of this up, and over here, you want to plug the tab on here into that middle slot of these three slots. So the lower one on his shoulder. That plugs in there. There are a couple of little tabs on here. Bam and bam. Those things need to slide into a groove. Two grooves, in fact. One of which is easily visible right about here. And there's a matching one on the other side. So the way that this works is, in a manner that you can see better, you're folding up this thing to connect to that. And the way to do that safely is just make sure that the shoulder ratchets are all nice and perpendicular and in 90-degree angles and whatnot, and then just ease it on there. Oh, and this is what you would do and then you do this, and you go like, why isn't it working? The simple reason being that when you aren't using the Gatling guns, the other two weapon choices, you have to swivel sideways to offer clearance. So I totally did that on purpose, just to show you how they wouldn't clear otherwise. I'm a real Samaritan like that, ladies and gentlemen. Now you see it clips right in there, all happy-like, and then you close up this panel after putting it in there, not before, like I did the first time I tried transforming it, and boom, nice, super solid connection. I'm just going to do that again in a wider shot now, so you can just see me naturally at work, messing with toys. A thing I do, a little YouTube venture, playing with toys. Talking about toys and playing with toys. The front shoulder armor here also likes to move around a lot. It's pretty much always going to be facing forward. The only reason it moves up is for robot mode posability, so don't fret yourselves about that. And now, slide this thing up into here. Like a boss! Sometimes the wrist doesn't swivel in perfectly, and that little tab on the dark gray part under here, which goes into this slot, might not line up right. All you gotta do is just push this thing down a little bit, just so that the tab's pointing fully downwards and not slightly forwards, and that should clip together nicely. Now, we're ready to move on to the lower body, and there's one very key step here. You gotta fold this groin piece forward, and then swivel the entire plane around like that. And then fold that back up. Alright, you don't have to fold that thing anymore. However, you do have to be really careful, because these two little side skirt pieces on this version of the toy are quite fragile. The instructions show you folding them up like pretty much 90 degrees. You can't. So just fold them up until they naturally stop, and then leave them alone! Mastermind has already told me they're planning to strengthen those on the colored versions of this toy, so that's good. Then the cow catcher comes up, the butt plate comes up. See a pattern emerging here? Things going up. Then the legs turn inwards like this, and they fold forward. It's in the instructions, this is a little bit tricky, but once you see how it works, it's far more sensible. You're pretty much just turning the leg inward and then curling it up on itself. When you're bending the knee, another caution point, don't grab either of these parts, because they're going to try to spin. And if you grab them and start spinning them, you might strip gears. Also, this tab on the side of his thigh is going to plug into that little notch here on the inside of the groove for the double-jointed knee. This can be tricky to line up sometimes, but all you really got to do is be patient with it and massage it in to place. Getting it up here kind of helps. There we go. And this part I actually didn't catch in the instructions right away. Oh, also, be careful with the hip joints. Don't let them bend too far in while you're folding them up, or you might snag the cow catcher with some of this armor, and that could be bad. This next bit here is this little dark gray tab and the slot under the arms. Those also, this can take a little bit of lining up, but they very happily click together. Super solid again. I love that. And then finally, over here, you take the feet and fold the heel part just in like this. This is also tricky. You've got to be careful about the arrangement of the pointy rear bits here, and then these ridges here. It's not like you're going to break it, it's just like if you force it, something could happen, and sometimes it snags in a funny way. Just ease it down and in so that it goes like that. If that doesn't happen easily, just pull it out and try again, and make sure everything lines up happily. It's a little bit of a tight fit in there. Anyway, let's wide shot this up. Transform another leg. I do actually like this automorph. It's kind of cool. I remember at TFCon, the dude from Mastermind showed it to me, and it's one of those many little touches on this toy that adds this extra level of, I don't know, like fun to the design. Like, the people who designed it clearly were having a good time doing so. And let's clip this in there. Now, on the front here, you can guess what's going to happen. This slots in like that to hold that all together, and it helps kind of line up these slightly less lock-inable pieces on the feet. There's no real notches for these things. They just kind of rest together. And I think the main guiding point is this connection here on the front. And once you have that done, we're almost done. You can extend the wings out. It's actually kind of cool. They lock here, and they lock here. And also, of course, lock inside. But extend Zor out your wings, and then take these little dark gray bits. You can actually do this far earlier on. And plug them in here. Doing this early on might actually help more so than doing it when I did it. So customize your transformation experience as is comfortable to you, ladies and gentlemen. These things, they do kind of clip in, but not heavily, so don't push them too hard if you're not hearing anything. They might have just clipped in silently. Finally, this thing just folds up. This doesn't click either. This actually clicks when you fold it down and then fold the cockpit back, but otherwise, just pull it up till it stops. And you have a flying machine! Whoa! Spinning. It's a cool alt mode, if you're into the design. If you're not into the design, the thing to respect about this is that they wanted to stick to this line art design, and they did. So, that's transforming this dude. And, you know, spraying gunfire everywhere. I wish I knew somewhere to put these, but sadly no. You can only put in one gun option as far as I can tell. Let's, I don't know, let's bask in this for a little while, and then maybe I'll show you how to change it back. I don't know. Oh, hey guys, we're gonna transform him back to a robot. First thing I like to do is shrink all of his sharp pieces so that they're not sticking out and able to poke me while I'm transforming him. Then you just kind of start from the legs and work your way up. This part's a little bit crazy to unplug, but you just gotta be careful. That's really the mantra with, like, expensive toys. The nice thing about this guy is that I don't see, in having transformed him as many times as I have, I don't really see any way to, innocently break him, other than, like, being ignorant of parts that are fragile. Cyclops had moments that were legitimately kind of spooky, if not just kind of risky, every time you transformed him. Mostly, the slotting in of his waist to his chest with those two little L clips, and any time that you were either pulling apart or putting back together the lower parts of his hull. It was, I don't know, I think there's no real way to look at that and say, like, oh, eventually this becomes easy. Like, even once I got to know it, I think it kind of remained, like, not scary, but just like, oh, this is that part where I've got to really concentrate. This guy, I feel, is much more accessible, and just, I find him really fun to transform. The scheme is interesting. It's great how much it locks together in vehicle mode. It still locks together pretty well in robot mode as well, but vehicle mode, just, you click so many things into things. It's really, really satisfying to me. By the way, the trick here with this elbow, this is one of the few times you need to really do a trick, turning him back into a robot mode. What I find helps is if you lower the elbow a bit, and then just rest your thumb on the back there and push it together like that. That'll get the joint to lock together, and he'll have a much more solid arm. If that thing is, like, not connected, it's not, like, the end of the world, but his arm is noticeably easy to kind of flop around and lose track of. It gets away from you. And the last thing you want is for your toy's arm to get away from you, because then, next thing you know, he's just grabbing your posterior and kind of just having his way and going like, no, listen, I'm in charge in this relationship. You can't tell me what to do. I bring in the bread and butter to this household. And then you're like, you're a toy. And the dude's like, maybe. That's what my life is like, anyway. And then, before you do the automorph is the only other thing where it's kind of like, it's not really risky. I just think it's easy to accidentally go like, alright, I'll just fold the wings back, and then all the automorph gears start crashing into each other because you can't move the head up. So just pop that, fold it back. If you look down here, there's a notch in the mohawk blade here. And this is kind of cool. That little notch right there actually has something to plug into there. And, oh, it's so pleasant. I like that. Now you are free to engage in some automorph. And if you want to be real dramatic about it, you do that. And you got to do it in this order. You do that, then you can pop his shoulders up, and this is a real easy step to miss, actually. And the way that I find it's easiest to do is if you rotate the shoulder out and then push from the bottom, you have a nice solid base to apply pressure without slipping and, you know, hitting one of the propellers and cutting yourself. And then just flip his head down, and then folding the ears out. It's not that hard, but it's tricky to show on camera because my hand's got to fill the space in. So I'll see how much I can do to assist you guys in seeing this, but you can literally just make sure his head's pointing forward, get a fingernail on either side, and just pull. And if they don't pull out all the way, or you want them to, or, you know, they're just kind of jammed, you can then turn his head sideways and apply a very light pressure to fold it out the entire way if it's not going there on its own. But don't get too crazy applying pressure, because they don't feel fragile, but they are a very thin part connected by a simple pin hinge joint. And I'm sure if you apply too much forward pressure, you could break something there. And then you'll have an earless Seeker. That's it. A lot of people actually, I think, prefer to fold those ears back. This is just from the line art, and I like that it's there. But you can just leave them folded back and have a more square-looking head. And I believe that finishes off the transformation. So that went a lot faster because I wasn't trying to explain through a whole lot of things while I was doing it. I really like transforming this guy, and you know what? I got an idea. Why don't I turn on some nice soft air conditioning, and I'm just gonna transform this guy as fast as I can. And I'm back. Blammo. Anyway, that's been transforming the Night Morpher Airborne Squad Awakening version member, squad member, guide dude, Decepticon-looking guy who's not a Decepticon. Hope this video was helpful to you, especially if you've got the Awakening dude on the way. And the actual review will be happening quite soon. It's already halfway produced, so look forward to it in the next couple of days. If you want to hear some more thoughts on this guy. And if you've got one on the way, I hope you enjoy it. And if you're waiting for the colored versions, I hope you enjoy those whenever they happen. Until then, this has been Internet Personality Vangelus, and I've transformed this guy so many times, I think I'm going to do it one more time. By the way, if you do end up breaking this figure, despite all the caution warning signs and everything like that, I'm sorry. Look, I can make it up to you, I'm going to play with my toy a little bit more first.